wanted to do this live because over the past couple of weeks, I've been getting so much just false information, and especially watching Donald Trump address the issue last night. It got me really upset because I'm thinking nobody is actually effectively communicating what is actually going on, what are truths, what are myths, and there's just a lot of inaccurate information out there that I want my people, my community to be, just well aware of, and you can take that information and do with what you will. So I just want to just come here, state the facts, answer your questions. Hopefully nobody gets upset at this live. It's because it's going to be all fact. And, at the end, whenever I cut it off, feel free to DM me questions and whatever. So first, I just want to give a little background for myself and explain why I think that I'm a credible source. I've spent the majority of my life really in the science field as a public health official. I got my undergraduate public health degree at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland, where I mainly studied prostate cancer and pretty much all environmental health contaminants, toxicants, whatever you can think of. I studied it, presented on it, published on it. Then after I continued my undergraduate degree, I went on to get my master's degree in public health, specialty in toxicology and risk assessment at Johns Hopkins University as well in Baltimore, Maryland. In a year after that, I spent about 5 years being a toxicologist for an environmental consulting firm here in Brooklyn, actually, where I started the office. And then after that, I kind of quit that and became full-time DJ. So that's just me. So I've taken a lot of toxicology classes on virology, pathology, pandemics. One of my very first projects was actually doing a modulation and stimulation on how to effectively communicate risk on the swine flu, which I'll talk to a little bit later. And then so what I'm going to do is how I'm going to break up this live is give you a little background on the virus and the information, talk to you about how it spreads, kind of hopefully debunk a lot of myths you guys have about the virus, and then kind of go on what we can do from here. But it's not up to me, it's up to us as a community just to stop spreading all the lies and, misinformation that is out there in the world. So coronavirus, as it's called, COVID-19, is a type of coronavirus. So now coronavirus is just the umbrella of multiple viruses that live in mammals that can be translated into humans. So we have known about corona disease for years. Swine flu is a coronavirus. Bird flu was a coronavirus. There's plenty other coronaviruses out there. COVID-19 is coronavirus that is affecting us today is because it was first detected in 2019 in Wuhan, China. And the first patient was last seen at the wet market in Wuhan, China. Now, the virus was not spread by eating bat soup or whatever the media and the memes are saying. That's not the case. The virus mutated. The first host was a bat. Yes, the virus mutated from that bat into various different mammals like a pig or chickens and stuff like that, which was sold at the wet market. Now, if you have any knowledge on wet markets in China, that it's a lot going on. There's live slaughtering of animals and whatnot. So the bat infected I think the other host was a pig, and therefore went on to contaminate and jump into a human being. Now, yes, so the myth was that the patient was not eating back soup. You cannot get the virus from food. You cannot get it from packaging. You cannot get it from if you order something and it gets shipped from China. You can't do that. Okay. Bats, yes, bats. So how does the disease spread? So the disease mainly spreads from respiratory contact from a sick individual. You cannot get it by shaking hands. You cannot get it from hugging. You cannot get it with just being around everyone. So when the infected person sneezes, there's certain mucous membranes that are released from the nasal cavity where the virus mainly lies dormant. And then so you can if somebody sneezes within the arm's reach you or you get come into contact with wet molecules from the nose, then you can be infected. You cannot be infected if you're around a large amount of Asian folks. You cannot be infected by the likelihood of you being infected by you touching a source can happen. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but it's mainly from person to person contact, someone who is ill with the virus, sneezing, coughing, releasing that virus into the air or onto you, and you're subsequently infected by that. Oh yes, so I wanted to do a quick myth buster is what I call it. I know I've seen a lot of images about people that are finding on the back of hand sanitizers or whatnot that we have known about coronavirus. Yes, we have known about coronavirus. This specific strain that we have not seen before. Every year there's a new strain of a virus, of a flu and whatnot. So don't be alarmed if you go and pick up a hand sanitizer and already see corona, whatever's on the back. We have known about this. It's not a new virus. COVID-19 is a new virus, a new strain of that virus. Remember, viruses mutate. Every year it's a different virus. Every year it's a different virus. Remember, we went through this with the swine flu, bird flu. Every year, even the influenza flu mutates every year, which is why people get infected with it every year. So it's a respiratory disease. There's a myth that you can be infected with the virus by touching a surface. So the answer to this is yes and no. The likelihood of you being contaminated with this virus by touching a object like a table or a keyboard or something is very low. But yes, you can be infected by touching an object if it was, a person was sneezed and it fell from the air onto that object. Stop going around with these latex gloves, trying not to touch everything that's not doing anything. You're just causing mass hysteria. So the CDC says that the virus can live on various substances 3 hours in the air, 4 hours on copper, 24 hours on cardboard, 3 days on plastic and steel, and so forth and so forth. So the likelihood of you just catching it by walking around is very low. So I wouldn't be walking around with these masks, which I'll talk about later. I wouldn't be worried about, trying to prevent from touching everything, because the reality of the subject is you're going to be touching everything. Don't be afraid to go to the gym. Don't be afraid to venture outside of your house. The mass hysteria is because people think that, that this virus can live up to forever on surfaces. It's not true. And it's such an unstable disease, an unstable virus, that it's very weaker in the sunlight. Yes, it's very weaker on substances being moved around. So your likelihood of catching it is very low. But yes, you still can catch it on these surfaces. So just be mindful. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Don't, stop trying to refrain from touching your mouth. Stop touching your face every so often. Let me answer some of these questions. Yeah, masks and gloves make any sense. The gym, yes, you do have a high source of contamination at the gym because people are constantly touching, sneezing, and not covering your mouth. So if you have symptoms, if you believe you have coronavirus, do not go to the hospital. The hospital are already overwhelmed. America is not even equipped to be tested for this disease. If you are experiencing symptoms, just stay in the house. Not everyone that's coughing or sneezing has coronavirus. Remember that we are in flu season, we are in allergy season. Not everybody that's sneezing and coughing has the virus. If you do sneeze and cough, please just do it in your elbow, or try to cover your face, but not by the hands. That's one of the main sources of contamination. You can't get it by somebody breathing on you. If somebody breathing on you from their mouth, remember the virus does not live in the throat. It lives in the back of the nasal cavity. Let me see who else has a question. I already asked about the gym. I think I have a question here. Okay. So, can black people get the coronavirus? Yes. I don't know where this myth started from. Actually, it's a case, an African guy in China that was actually cured from the disease. He was actually one of the first people to get the disease. So your ethnicity doesn't have anything to do. We all have the same respiratory tracts. We all have the same membranes. That's not going to do anything. Another question. Yes, you can get it within 2 to 3 feet of a person coughing or sneezing on you. Yes, you definitely can. That's what I'm saying. So if a person that has the disease coughs or sneezes on you, remember that disease is traveling in the air as a water molecule, and if you does come in contact with it, you can. That's why the recommendation is for you to stay probably an arm's length away from a person, from anybody. Right now, they're saying just keep an arm's distance away from people. That's why the major games are being canceled. Anything over 1,000 people, your risks are just getting higher. And this is where I want to talk about risk, because if you are not an immunosuppressed person under the age of 70, your risks are decreased of actually getting the disease because you have a viable immune system. What they're trying to do is protect the susceptible population, which are elderly people, children, sick people, and stuff like that. So don't get upset when things are getting canceled. It's because they're trying to protect a certain demographic. The majority of the cases that are dying from disease are over the age of 70 and 80. If they touch a pole and then I touch the pole like an hour, can I get it? That's a complex question. If the virus is living on the pole, depending on the surface, so I guess steel, so it can live on steel and plastic up to 3 days, I believe I said. Yeah, 3 days. But you remember people are constantly holding and moving on the pole. That virus is not going to be there. I guarantee you it's not going to be there. But, I mean, it is a lower risk of you getting it. Elders are the most at risk of fatal death. So does it mean young people would? I mean, no, it doesn't mean that young people are immune from the virus, but you have to think about risk. You have a likelier risk of dying if you are elderly, or if you are immunosuppressed, or if you are a child with a weakened immune system. Young people nobody is exempt from this disease. And then that goes on to my question. Thank you, Leighton. So if you already are infected with the disease, there's a slight chance that you can be reinfected. Now, so as you guys know, that whenever you get sick, you build up these antibodies to the virus or the contaminant. But with coronavirus COVID-19, there is a slight chance that the antibody will be shortened and you can get reinfected. So that's more of a case-by-case basis, a person-by-person basis. That's kind of hard to discuss because I'm not looking at your genetic chart and stuff like that. So there is a slight chance that you can. Does it permanently damage your lungs if you do? No, it's not a debilitating disease. Think of this as the flu. The flu kills more people, 40,000 people a year. Coronavirus has only killed 4,000. I'm not saying that their deaths are stronger than others, but coronavirus has only killed 4,000, 3.7% of the world's population. The influenza flu kills 20% of the general population a year. Think of this as the flu. So do whatever you want to do to take those precautions as you do the normal flu to coronavirus. Why this is novel is because it's a new pandemic, and it's spread it around the globe really fast. And also the media and you guys sharing the memes every single day. So that's where the mass hysteria is coming from. Okay, let me see more questions. Okay, so this is a good question. So where do we go to get tested? So the problem in America and why this is spreading so quickly is because we aren't doing a good job with testing. We aren't doing a good proactive job with catching this earlier. So the places where you can go get tested are private facilities for testing. Please do not go to the hospital. A lot of my past colleagues are saying that people are just burdening the hospitals coming for testing when they don't even have any symptoms. They have the regular flu. They aren't, that is creating a bottleneck situation where it's going to explode. We in America don't have the infrastructure like China did to create, various testing facilities like that. And also, that's another question for the legislation because they aren't really enacting testing. They aren't telling people where to get tested and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so Tanika, does holding your breath for 10 seconds really help to see if it's in your lung? I've never actually heard that. If you have it, it doesn't matter if you hold it for 10 seconds, 50 seconds, you're going to cough, you're going to sneeze, you're going to do something. So or unless you're saying if you hold your breath while around somebody sneezing, you can still catch it because if that droplet lands on you, it's a wrap. Hey, Michelle Rose. I believe that, we're still learning on how to properly test for it. So I believe that I haven't heard that either. If you have the flu a few weeks ago, even though I didn't test positive for it, the doctor still said I had it. I don't know how, if you didn't test positive for it, that the doctor didn't say you have it, unless you're a false negative. That doesn't make any sense. So you should probably rethink that, doctor. Yes, the real Miss Pope. As I said before, we've known about coronavirus before. Coronaviruses are swine flu. Corona is just a family of viruses. So these detergents and everything like that, we've known coronavirus. We haven't known coronavirus 19, which was detected in 2019. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if bleach kills the virus, bleach kills basically everything. You can ingest bleach now and kill yourself. So, yes. But that goes on to just make sure that the places you're going are disinfecting everything. Make sure if you're sick or experiencing symptoms, try to disinfect your entire house. Try to stay at least within an arm's length distance away from people. Okay, let me look at these other questions. Y'all got so fast. Okay. This is a good question. Are those exhibiting zero symptoms still contagious? Do they eventually get symptoms? So people are asymptomatic and can be carriers of the disease. Yes, that's for any disease. You can get infected with the disease. You can pass it on without having symptoms. That's why it's very important just to take precautions, to always be mindful of your community, of your surroundings. Stop coughing on your hands. Stop coughing in the air. Stop breathing, yes. So you can pass it on. People are carriers. Also, I want to talk about the mask. I've been seeing a lot of people wear these paper blue surgical masks. So those masks are to protect you from spreading the disease, not from you from getting the disease. That thing is not on your face tight enough. That's why you see people wearing it. You can still see their mouth area. You can still see, various parts are exposed. So you can still get like a droplet from somebody sneezing in the air. You can still get that within that mask. If you guys want to be sure that you're not getting infected, get an N95 mask. N65 mask. And it's going to be very tight. Stop going out and buying the paper surgical mask because you're putting the hospitals at a greater risk of running out. Okay, Vincent, how can I make myself healthier so I don't get it? Vitamin C, multivitamins. Whatever you normally do to protect yourself from getting sick, getting adequate sunlight, vitamin C, vitamin D, make sure you're drinking enough fluids. Make sure, because this is basically a normal virus that's just being blown out of proportion. Not saying that it's not safe, but the influenza virus is way more deadly than the coronavirus. Yes, sorry, it's N95 mask, not N65. You're right. Let me see what else is on here. Oh, also, I want to talk about the travel ban. So, as you know, Trump banned all travel from Europe. That is only, if you read the exact statement from the Department of Homeland Security, that ban is only for people that are foreign nationals. So if you have relatives that are overseas in Europe, they're trying to get you can come back. That's only for foreign nationals. And yeah, I know a lot of people were freaking out saying that they can't fly to and from Europe. You're safe. Did you answer the questions about need to buy groceries? I had to take a call. I am not buying into the mass hysteria. You can buy groceries. You should always be buying groceries, I guess. I wouldn't run out and buy all the toilet paper, buy all the groceries and stuff like that. I don't know what the legislation is going to do from this now. If you look at what China did, China just increased the available testing. So now, if you really, I mean, you notice that a lot of the media coming from China has went dark because China, I think, only has like 84 confirmed cases now or something very low. Before they had multiple cases, but they were testing every day, testing mass people. In America, I think as of yesterday, the CDC, this is just public testing facilities. They've only tested 84 people. So, yeah. So we're trying to eliminate becoming an Italy where the city needs to go on like complete shutdown, but the government and Trump is not testing more people, not getting the adequate resources out to the public. No, the travel ban doesn't stop the transmission of the disease. No, it doesn't. I mean, because people in America have it. So, and people are traveling. So if I travel to New Jersey, I mean, I can still get it, you know? Okay, let me see what else I have here that I want to talk about. Yes, the past, travel ban, influenza. Yeah. Okay, let me see what else is on here. That's it. Okay, complications should you not go to? No, please don't go to the hospital if you believe that you have coronavirus. Probably the likelihood that you actually have it is very low, just as a probability standpoint. Yes, please do not go to the hospital soon, because what is going to happen is you're going to overburden the hospitals. And once that happens, nobody is going to get sick. I think I read in Italy that they're actually having to decide whether to treat an elderly person or a younger person. So I don't want that to be the case in America. So please, if you are not running a fever, if you are not coughing, if you believe it's just allergies but want to make sure, please do not just run to the hospital. Call before and talk to your primary care physician. Yeah, I don't believe there's no point in the travel ban. And yes, so this was a big question about the two different strands that have been identified. Yes, so the disease is rapidly mutating, but the disease is always mutating from person to person. That's why that's why we're getting constantly infected with these same viruses every year, with STDs and everything. Once it is in me and goes to you, it's already mutated. Okay, any more questions? Okay, this was a good one. Aside from getting coughed or sneezed on and not to touch our face, how can we prevent ourselves from getting it? You can prevent yourself from staying arm's distance away from people. You can prevent yourself from getting it by washing your hands. That's the biggest defense that we have, is by washing your hands. Don't go out and run and buy all these latex gloves because, I mean, with the latex gloves, the virus can still stick onto it. You're constantly touching stuff. You're constantly touching surfaces. So, I mean, it's still on the latex glove. So just wash your hands. You know, if you have to cough, sneeze, cough, you know, just constantly, you know, just sanitize yourself. It's nothing else that we can do. If you show symptoms of the coronavirus, then get over them after a few days. Can the symptoms come back? Of course, the symptoms can come back. Like I said, people can be asymptomatic. People can have the symptoms within them for a short period of time. But that's not to say you even have coronavirus without testing. And the testing facilities, the testing options are just not there. So that's why they're saying people stay at home. That's why they're canceling the big events, because it's impossible right now to test people. And you can easily spread it without knowing it. And within these fine spaces, it's easier to spread. That's not saying don't go anywhere. I do not believe in canceling everything, because, I mean, people are still going to get this disease. We just need to be more mindful and protecting yourself. Okay. Let me see. Any more questions? Okay. If anybody want to join the live to ask questions, feel free to as well. I have my friend from Howard Medical School that's going to be on the line in a little bit. Yes. If any more questions, I'm just trying to do the bare minimum of knowledge without getting too nitty gritty into the details of it. I just want to make sure that you guys are not freaking out and, you know, coming here for the right reasons. Oh, also there was a myth that in warmer climates, if in warmer climates the virus can not survive. That's not true, because actually, as you know, Tom Hanks has contracted the virus in Australia, and Australia right now is in the summertime. Oh, okay. Friend, Dr. OBGYN Marika, she's joining the live now. Marika.
What's up?
Hey. Okay, so as a medical professional, I just want, what can you tell the people that are thinking about coming to the hospital, that are thinking about, you know, like they have the first symptoms and stuff like that? What, as a medical profession, that they're actually telling you to tell people?
So essentially, if you think about it, the coronavirus is a family of viruses that can sometimes cause like the common cold. So you kind of think about it like in the same way that the common cold might run its course. If you find that after 3 to 5 days, you still have a fever, you're feeling shortness of breath, feeling difficulty breathing, chest pain, um, productive cough, things of that nature, then that's the time for you to go into the hospital. Because, you know, while Corona is going on, we still are in the midst of flu season, as well as it's still winter season, so people are still contracting common colds. So it's possible that you could have the common cold or the flu and not necessarily Corona. But like at 3 to 5 days, symptoms haven't gone away or seem like they're worsening, then that would be the time when it could be of benefit to go ahead and go to the hospital.
Gotcha. So now, can you talk a little bit also about the masks? Because I know people are running out and buying all these paper masks that you guys use in the hospital, which put you guys at a strain. What would you tell those people that are worried about wearing the paper mask?
I would tell them, like, instead of running out to get masks, focus way more energy on your hand hygiene, as in making sure that you're washing your hands as much as possible. Limit, you know, contact the touch with other people. Invest in hand sanitizer, because yes, I know they were talking about like in our emergency department, they can't like put masks out at the little stations that they normally would, because people are grabbing like 20, 30 at a time, which is decreasing our supply, which providers need. And not just for, you know, when we're dealing with patients who might have illness, like providers need them when they're doing certain procedures. So if there's a decrease in mass supply, then that puts, you know, healthcare providers at risk for whatever operations or other procedures that they need to do. And so it's the virus is not, as far as we know, is not necessarily airborne. So like a mask is not going to be what protects you. What protects you is making sure that, like, if you come into contact with respiratory droplets, like let's say someone with the virus sneezes and then touches a doorknob or a desk or something, making sure that you are washing your hands appropriately, not touching your face, not touching anything that we would call like your mucous membrane, so not touching your nose, your mouth, your eyes, because those are the ways that we normally contract viruses like this. Like we touch something where somebody else who already has been affected by the virus, and then we end up with it. So like limit touching your face. I know they like suggested for women, like if you wear makeup, to try to get in a daily habit of wearing your makeup, because women are less likely to touch their faces when they have makeup on. So
Oh,
things
okay.
in
Yeah, I
that
didn't think
nature.
about that. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so ladies, I guess wear extra beads so you can prevent touching your face. Yes. Is there anything else? Because people are like worried about if they're like going to these large events, they will be more susceptible or to get it if they're walking around outside. I know you mentioned it's not airborne, but should people be concerned about going to these events?
I mean, for the most part, it seems like every large event everywhere in America has been canceled anyway. But aside from
Right.
that, of the reason why in the wintertime we are more inclined to get sick, partially just has to do with like our close contact with one another. So because it is something that is spread from person to person, yes, the more you are in contact with people, the more you're in contact with large numbers of people, the more likely that you can end up coming in contact with someone who has the virus. So I mean, if you're okay and won't go stir crazy, like kind of spending more of your time isolated, then go for it. Especially if you're in somewhere in an area where it seems that the virus has been more prevalent, or where they're having like more cases, or where they've been able to identify someone who has been a source. Like let's say you attend a school and they know for certain that someone at the school was positive for the virus, or that someone was recently in contact with someone that was positive for the virus. I would avoid like environments like that.
Gotcha. And then can you talk a little bit on the susceptible populations? Because I know people are like freaking out, but I was mentioning that, we just have to be mindful of elderly, of children, people with weakened immune systems that have a greater chance of actually falling ill from the disease. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's basically exactly what you said. Like for the most part, it's the same as, like I said, like any other upper respiratory illness, in terms of those that are immune compromised are those that are more likely to have like the more severe symptoms that lead to like post-viral pneumonias or need for ICU admissions or things of that nature. So exactly what you said in terms of elderly individuals, very young individuals, um, immune compromised. So people with like a lot of comorbidities, and by that I mean like people who have asthma, people who have COPD, people who have diabetes, heart disease, um, all are also more at risk.
Gotcha.
So just overall, if you to like simplify, people who already kind of have like a lot of health conditions, are more sickly, are more at risk.
Um, somebody just asked, what about national travel via planes? Is it better to stay put in your daily habitat? What do you think about that?
So I'm trying to like not be hypocritical because I have like a trip
No, stay
planned
wherever
next
you are.
week.
That's why I wanted the people to
Yeah,
have
I
an
was about to say
unfiltered
like
opinion
I
on
have a trip planned next week, and I still totally intend on taking my trip. But once again, because I know, being at the airport, being on the airplane, I know that I'm going to come into contact with lots of people, as well as come into contact with a lot of surfaces that other people have come into contact with. So I'm just going to be way more vigilant about trying not to touch my face at all, as well as really making sure that I'm washing my hands as much as possible. And in washing your hands, making sure that you're washing them for like at least 20 seconds. I don't know if you went over that already. So like either sing happy birthday to yourself twice while washing your hands, or like you can sing the ABC song like all the way through the like now I know my ABCs part. And that's about 20 seconds. If you're using hand sanitizer, making sure that it's like at least 90% alcohol, so not like your little Bath and Body Work hand sanitizers, but
Right.
legit hand sanitizer, and using it, rubbing your hands with it until your hands are dry. If you're using hand sanitizer.
Gotcha. Now, Marika, somebody asked this question. I think I should probably Dr. Tate. Somebody asked this question.
No, it's all good.
If
I mean, to you.
if someone who is infected sneezes on you, but you wipe it off immediately, will you get it?
So if someone sneezes on you, I guess it partially kind of depends upon like when they sneeze, what was expelled when they sneeze, like where it landed. If someone sneezes on you and it lands on your lip, um, you know, your body is going to come in contact with the virus. But just because you come in contact with it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get symptoms from it.
Exactly.
Because although this is a novel virus, meaning that this particular strand had never been identified in humans before, so that means that like no human has necessarily like already established immunity to this virus. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a strong enough immune system to still be able to fight off the virus if you do come in contact with it. So it's not like just because I'm corona positive, that means that I'm going to have symptoms of coronavirus. If that like makes sense. Like the same way you probably come in contact on a day-to-day with many different viruses and bacteria and don't necessarily end up with them because your body is able to fight them off. So like things that you can do to help boost your immune system is first just making sure that like your diet is appropriate, and then also making sure that you're getting sleep. Sleep is like key, and trying to make sure that your immune system is boosted, making sure that you're getting the appropriate like vitamins and nutrients like your vitamin C's and vitamin E's, things of that nature are beneficial to you.
Gotcha. Okay, I don't know what. Oh, here we go. This live be running through. Okay. Marika, do you know the first symptoms? I think it's like dry cough, sore throat.
Yeah, it's like it's very similar to like if you had a cold. So
Right.
yep.
So, okay, so what would you tell the people that are experiencing cold and flu-like symptoms? Should they run out, try to go get tested? Should they stay in the house? Should they go out to the party? Like, what should they do?
So no, they shouldn't go out to party. If you feel that you're having cold or flu symptoms, you should try to isolate yourself from anyone that is in your household or anyone that you might be around in whatever settings. Kind of like quarantine yourself, so to say. And then like I was kind of saying, if those symptoms last, like everybody who's had a cold before, right? So if those symptoms last past the normal amount of time that you usually have a cold for, they're lasting for greater than 3 to 5 days, that would be the time that you need to go get evaluated. Or if you feel like this is way more severe than anything that I've ever experienced before, like you feel very faint, like you might pass out, you feel like you are having a lot of difficulty breathing, then those would be serious reasons that should lead you to go ahead and go to the hospital. But if you're like, oh no, I'm starting to cough and my throat is sore, I need to go to the emergency room, no, not necessarily. And you don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system and not allow us to be able to treat people who actually need to be treated, if that
Gotcha.
makes sense.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, don't. So, are you? I know you're at Howard Medical Hospital. Are you guys experiencing more people coming to the hospital thinking that they have corona?
Yeah,
So they are
yeah,
clogging
we
up
are.
the health system, right?
You said,
So they're clogging up the health system.
So I would say that yes, and that's to an extent. More people are presenting, wondering if they have corona than people probably present wondering if they have the flu. Like when
Right.
a lot of times when people know they have the flu, they're just like, yeah, I had a flu. I'm gonna do stuff for symptomatic relief. Stay at home, eat some chicken noodle soup for a few days, and then I'll be good. They don't necessarily run out to the hospital or whatever.
Gotcha.
And so it's, because, and I think part of that just has to do with like some of the fear propaganda that's coming through the media that's making everybody,
Yes. Yes.
so concerned and feel like, oh, I need to run out. And like, if there is something serious going on, by all means, get to your nearest hospital and,
Right.
get overtake you.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think that was the next question by Alicia. Hey, Alicia. What do you say to people panicking because of the media storm to get them to calm the F down? Like, what would you say to people? Should they be paying attention to the media? What should you do, like, in regards to the media? There's a lot of
So,
propaganda out there. A lot.
right. So, I mean, like some awareness is important, like in terms of things related to like CDC recommendations about what you can be doing to protect yourself. But like, why there's no tissue anywhere, I have like no idea. Like, why? Like, how is
Yeah.
tissue gonna prevent anyone from coming in contact with the coronavirus? So,
Right.
just, and for the most part, if you know that you're a healthy individual, more than likely, even if you did end up with the virus, your body will be able to fight it off. There are way more people that have been corona positive and recovered from the virus than there are people who contracted the virus and then ended up unfortunately dying.
Gotcha.
So, just kind of like take some solace in that.
Yes. So, do you agree with the recommendations to close everything down? Do you agree with trying to avoid people at all costs? Like, what would be your recommendation?
So, I think that on some levels, I mean, I guess I kind of understand, because I think that a lot of it just has to do with like the fear of uncertainty, and
Right.
uncertainty from the sense that like even for epidemiologists and virologists, because this is a new strand, just not having as much information related to like the predictability of the virus, the way that viruses and bacteria. So because of that, wanting to proceed with caution is understandable. Do I think that we're probably proceeding with a little too much caution? Like, yes, but I guess it's just because people don't know
Yes.
what all
Right.
could end up happening. But like, yeah, I think it's a bit extreme at this point. Like, yes, a bit
So
extreme.
people
I
are
don't think that
definitely
all of the
blowing it.
things.
Yes. So
Yes.
yes. So people are definitely blowing it out of proportion. But we blow everything out of proportion. But interestingly, we don't blow the influenza flu out of proportion. That kills way more
Right.
people than the corona.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, there are so many people that I know that are like, oh yeah, no, I never get flu shots. But now everybody was like, oh, I need
Yeah,
a
I know.
mask and everything
Exactly.
else to make sure that I don't get corona. And I'm like, the same like more dangerous or more harmful, potentially like deadly things that can happen with corona are the same things that can happen with the flu.
Right.
So,
Right. Right. But we know about the influenza flu.
right.
Correct?
You said what?
I said, but we know way more about the influenza flu
Yes,
versus corona.
yeah, we know way more about the flu, and that's what I think. Said like I think a lot of it is just rooted in a fear of uncertainty, and then also like we know in America especially, like everything here kind of comes down to like potential for like litigation. So I think some of it also is like just people trying to remove liability like, or organizations trying to remove like liability from themselves, or even sometimes like just government officials not having to deal with the potential like backlash of, oh, this ended up being horrible, and you know didn't take any steps to do something about
Right.
it.
Right. Right. So do you believe with the information coming out that Italy has like completely shut down the city, being as though Italy has the most confirmed cases? Although I kind of feel like that goes back to the test. In America, we aren't testing those, and like way more people probably have the virus that we know about. But
Yes.
also,
I was about
as
to
you,
say, yeah, if you're testing almost everybody for it, then you're gonna be more likely to have a higher incidence just by virtue of testing so many people for it.
gotcha, gotcha. Do you agree with this statement that the coronavirus is a weaker, more unstable virus than a lot of viruses that are already out there?
No. Like, I
Okay.
think like all viruses are smart, and all viruses, when they see that they are no longer thriving, no longer being transmitted from vector to vector. So like in this, with this one, like from person to person, that they mutate in a way to change their DNA so that they can be transmitted from person to person. So essentially, like I said, it's not like coronaviruses altogether are a new type of virus. They're a family of
Right.
viruses that we've known about for a very long time. It just
Yeah.
so happens that, like, because the virus seeks to preserve itself, that it changes DNA in some type of way to become a form that humans had not previously come in contact with.
Gotcha. And that's why,
That's
you know,
it.
I'm seeing a lot of memes about, oh, the government already known about corona. It's on the back of my Purell. Yes, because we've known about corona for a long time. The swine flu is corona.
Right,
Corona is like a family of viruses.
right,
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah, it's just mass hysteria. That's why, thank you for taking the time out to talk to the people. I just really wanted them to, I was really enraged to see just the amount of misinformation out there, the amount of mass hysteria. Because as you know, in America, mass hysteria leads to violence, leads to a lot of other
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
And I don't
Crazy,
want to
yes, yeah.
go down to that, you know, that black hole of the way of no return. So,
Right. You know, thank you for doing this. I'm sure with like all of your background in like public health and epidemiology, it was kind of like, yo, what is all
right,
of this about?
I was so upset. I'm like, okay, this is, but then, you know, once Corona started coming from my personal bags, I'm like, oh, no, this
I
cannot happen.
know,
No,
right? I
right,
know,
no,
right? I'm about
right,
to say, like, I guess I don't know how you do like a virtual like event for a DJ or something like that. The way that they got like everybody doing online school and all of this stuff
yeah,
now, not coming back from spring break. Yeah,
yeah,
nah, it's
but,
the potential like economic ramifications of this are
that,
gonna be very interesting.
and that's what we should be more focused on.
Uh-huh.
Than
Also
anything.
looking for ways that you can, you know, not to profit off of anyone's illness, but being strategic about, you know, things that you can invest in at this time while the market is, you know, tanking.
Right,
Because
yeah,
I mean, like it'll end up recovering. Like this is not the first time that we've had some type of um, viral illness or bacterial illness or whatever else that was of particular concern.
yeah,
It's like it becomes a thing in the media for a little while and then it dies down. And it's not
yeah,
because people aren't still getting it. It's just like, you know, the media can only sensationalize the story for so long.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, so my cousin Tiffany just asked, so should we be concerned about the lack of testing kits? Because, you know, in America, we like, the demand is not matching up with the supply. So
Right.
what do you think
Um,
about the
I
lack of
don't
testing?
think I don't think that we should be concerned about the lack of testing kits, because we just know that overall the incidence in America for the virus hasn't been as high. Also, um, what was I going to say? Also, I think that like almost every health institution is paying attention to the recommendations that are coming out from like WHO and from the CDC about the ways to properly screen for people before needing to actually test them.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Could you also quickly talk about the mutation of the virus? I know that they came out that it's like the virus is like changing, like the L and the R version of the virus.
Repeat one more time.
Can you talk about how the virus is mutating? I think I saw some reports coming out that the virus is already mutated, like the L and the R. It's like changing.
That
Let me
I
see if
am not upset. That I'm not aware of, but I'll be happy to look into it, and we can come back for part 2 with more information in terms of like a new strand.
Yeah, because I know that the virus is mutating, but I didn't think it was mutating that quick. Because they 2 different strains have been identified.
Give me 1 sec.
Okay. Okay. I think we lost Marika. But okay, guys. So if there's any more, yes, Maria, there is a shortage. There's a shortage of testing. Yeah, that's very true. So that's something we should be concerned about. The supply is not matching up with the demand of it. So have regular flu-like symptoms, stay at home. But if it's something that's lasting more than 3 to 5 days, or you personally feel like that's something you never experienced before, then try to go to a hospital or medical facility. So overall, we are prepared as a country to treat illness. No, we are not prepared at all as a country to treat the illness. That's why you're seeing them trying to take a lot of precautions and everything like that. And yes, I see that we have another physician, Maria. You said you encourage people not to take this lightly. No, yeah, don't take it lightly at all. I mean, still, we don't know much about this this virus at all. And we are very underwhelmed with testing, with adequate places to go to get treatment. That's why it's not to freak out, but also be mindful. You treat it how you would treat the influenza flu. Throw the whole list away. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Actually, Tobishi, try to find 90% with the alcohol. That's really effective. I don't know if you were here when Dr. Marika was on the line. Find that 90% alcohol and rub it on your hands until your hands are completely dry. Just don't pat it and then air dry. Keep rubbing it so it can cover the entire hand. Yes, definitely worry about parents and grandparents, because they are the most susceptible population, for sure. They have the most weakened immune system. But also people with comorbidities too, like asthma, obesity, HIV, everything. No, do not cancel your birthday. I don't think, that's what I'm saying, it's just becoming a mass hysteria. If you are sick, stay at home. Please wash your hands. If you have to cough and sneeze in your elbow. Try not to send these text messages with these memes, spreading inadequate information. Send them this live. I hope that we discussed a lot that are worrying people. I just hope that we as a nation can be better prepared. And I just want my community and my friends to not just freak out and buy up all the toilet paper, which makes no sense. Try to go to the grocery stores and buy up everything. You're fine. If you're doing stuff to take care of yourself, if you're not feeling any symptoms, you're fine. Just be mindful of touching your face, be mindful of touching various surfaces, wash your hands at least 30 seconds, sing the happy birthday song completely while washing your hands. Yes. And then that's it. So if there's not any more questions, I think that we can end this live. I'm going to be answering more questions via DM. Thank you guys for tuning in. I rarely tell people about my background on epidemiology, toxicology, virology, because that's not the narrative I'm writing now. But if nobody else is going to stand up and tell people the truth, then I guess I will. And I just want to answer this question to Corey. Thoughts on traveling domestic? Feel free to travel. Do not let this inhibit your travel, but just be mindful of the surfaces you are touching. Be mindful of people coughing near you and on you. Just be mindful of not touching your face. It's a higher risk that you could, just as higher risk because you're touching more surfaces, you come into more contact with people. So, all right, guys, I'm going to head out, but just stay safe. Don't be freaking out. Always reach out to me with questions. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. I don't even know how to even save this, so hopefully somebody screen recorded it. But if anybody know how to like save the live before I